Have you ever received a piece of advice that seemed strange at first but later turned out to be a lifesaver? Today, I want to share a truly remarkable story from a small village called Bikkavolu, a story that perfectly illustrates how wisdom often comes in the most unexpected forms. Our story begins with a young man named Kamesh, orphaned at a young age. Kamesh was raised by his loving grandmother, Sattemma. She was his entire world, a beacon of traditional wisdom and unconditional love. Sattemma wasn't just a guardian. She was a storyteller, a guide, and the keeper of the village's ancestral knowledge. Her words were steeped in experience, and she always had a proverb or a lesson ready for any situation Kamesh faced. He respected her deeply, though sometimes, like many of us, he found her old-fashioned advice a little puzzling in the modern world. One sunny morning, a significant opportunity arrived for Kamesh. A marriage proposal came from a respected family in a neighboring village. This was a pivotal moment in his life, and the journey to meet his potential bride and her family was filled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. As he prepared for the trip, Satama called him over. She looked at him with her kind, knowing eyes and said something that took him by surprise. Kamesh, she said gently, this journey is important. You should not go alone. Take a companion with you. Kamesh was confused. He was a grown man, and the journey wasn't particularly long or dangerous. But Grandma, he replied, I'll be fine. Who would I even take? Satama smiled and pointed to a small, wiggling puppy in the corner of their courtyard. It was a stray that had wandered in a few days earlier, a tiny ball of brown and white fur with floppy ears and a perpetually wagging tail. Take the puppy, she insisted. A loyal friend is the best protection. Kamesh was baffled. A puppy. What help could a tiny, playful puppy possibly be on such an important trip? It seemed like more of a hassle than a help. He imagined trying to make a good impression on his potential in-laws while juggling a squirming puppy. It felt a bit ridiculous. He tried to argue, suggesting it would be a distraction, but Satama was firm. Her tone was gentle but unyielding. Trust me, my child, she said. The elders see what the young cannot, just take him. Reluctantly, Kamesh agreed. He didn't want to disrespect his grandmother, the woman who had sacrificed so much for him. So, with a sigh of resignation, he picked up the small puppy, tucked it into a cloth sling, and began his journey. The sun was bright, and the path wound through green fields and quiet groves. The puppy, initially a bit nervous, soon settled down, occasionally peeking its head out to look at the world passing by. Kamesh walked on, his mind preoccupied with the upcoming meeting, the puppy feeling like a slightly silly, warm weight against his chest. After a couple of hours of walking, the afternoon sun grew intense. Kamesh felt tired and decided to rest. He spotted a large, inviting mango tree up ahead, its dense leaves offering a perfect patch of cool shade. It was an ideal spot to take a break, gather his thoughts, and have some water before continuing the final leg of his journey. He found a comfortable spot at the base of the massive trunk, gently placed the puppy on the soft grass beside him, and leaned back, closing his eyes for just a moment. The peaceful chirping of birds and the gentle rustle of leaves created a serene atmosphere, and he started to drift into a light slumber. Suddenly, the tranquility was shattered. The puppy, which had been quietly sniffing around, began to bark frantically. It wasn't a playful yip. It was a high-pitched, desperate, and aggressive bark. Kamesh opened his eyes, annoyed. Hush now, he mumbled, trying to quiet the little creature. He was worried the noise would disturb someone or attract unwanted attention, but the puppy refused to be silenced. It ran back and forth, barking furiously at the base of the mango tree, its small body trembling with agitation. Its frantic behavior was so intense that Kamesh couldn't ignore it. He sat up, his annoyance turning into curiosity. What could possibly have this tiny animal so worked up? He followed the puppy's gaze, peering into the shadows where the tree's roots twisted into the earth. And then his blood ran cold. Coiled in the cool darkness, perfectly camouflaged against the bark and soil, were not one, but two large cobras. Their heads were raised, hoods slightly flared, their dark eyes fixed on him. They had been lying in wait in the cool shade, right where he had been resting his head just moments before. A wave of pure terror washed over Kamesh. He was frozen in place, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. The snakes were inches from him, poised to strike. He had been completely oblivious, blissfully dozing while deadly danger was right beside him. The only thing standing between him and a fatal bite was this tiny barking puppy. Its relentless alarm was the only reason he was awake and aware of the threat. The puppy, sensing his fear, barked even louder, its bravery far outweighing its small size. The intense, continuous barking seemed to unnerve the cobras they held there. Ground for another moment, their tongues flicking out to taste the air, but the persistent noise was too much. Slowly, cautiously, they uncoiled their bodies and slithered away, disappearing into the dense undergrowth. Kamesh stayed motionless for a long time, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The silence that followed was deafening. He stared at the spot where the snakes had been, his mind struggling to process what had just happened. He had been moments from death. When his heart finally started to slow down, he looked at the puppy. The little creature had stopped barking and was now nudging his hand, whining softly, as if to check if he was okay. Kamesh scooped the puppy into his arms and held it close, his hands trembling. A profound sense of gratitude and awe washed over him. This small, seemingly insignificant animal had just saved his life, and it was all because he had listened to his grandmother. Sattemma's words echoed in his mind, "The elders see what the young cannot." In that moment, the full weight of her wisdom hit him. What he had dismissed as a silly, old-fashioned notion was, in fact, a piece of life-saving insight. She hadn't just told him to take a companion. She had given him a guardian angel in the form of a puppy. He realized that her advice wasn't based on superstition, but on a deep, intuitive understanding of the world, of nature, and of the unseen dangers that lie in wait. Perhaps she had a premonition, or perhaps it was just the accumulated wisdom of a long life that taught her to be cautious in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. Holding the puppy tight, Kamesh felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fear was replaced by a deep calm and clarity. He gave the puppy a drink of water and a small piece of his bread, stroking its soft fur with a newfound reverence. His journey was no longer just about a marriage proposal. It had become a pilgrimage of understanding. With the puppy safely nestled back in its sling, Kamesh continued on his way. He walked with a lighter step, his heart full. When he finally arrived at the neighboring village, he was no longer just a nervous young suitor. He carried himself with a quiet confidence and a maturity that he hadn't possessed just a few hours earlier. He greeted his potential in-laws with grace and respect, the small puppy peeking out from its sling, becoming an instant topic of conversation. He told them the story of his journey, of his grandmother's advice, and of the incredible bravery of his tiny companion. The family was deeply impressed, not just by the dramatic tale, but by Kamesh's humility and his profound respect for his elders' wisdom. They saw in him a man of character, someone who was responsible, grateful, and wise beyond his years. The meeting was a resounding success. The marriage was approved, and Kamesh returned home not just but with a life-changing lesson etched into his soul. From that day forward, Kamesh never again questioned Sattemma's advice. He listened with an open heart and an open mind, understanding that true wisdom isn't always logical or modern. Sometimes it's ancient, intuitive, and comes in the form of a loving grandmother and a brave little puppy. The puppy, of course, became a cherished member of the family, a living, breathing symbol of loyalty, courage, and the powerful, often mysterious wisdom of our elders. This story is a beautiful reminder for all of us. In our fast-paced modern lives, it's easy to dismiss the advice of our grandparents and elders as outdated. But their words carry the weight of experience, a depth of understanding that we have yet to earn. They have navigated challenges we can't even imagine. So next time an elder gives you a piece of advice that seems a little strange, maybe pause for a moment, listen, because you never know, it might just be the thing that saves you. Thank you so much for watching and for letting me share this incredible story with you. If it touched you in any way, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more inspiring tales. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received from an elder? Share it in the comments below. I'd love to read your stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay wise.